Hey YouTube, POD7 here with another comic book haul video. Kind of a short one this time. I'm going to try to do one like within a week when I go to the comic shop. So this one I just haven't been back for a couple weeks, and I don't know when I'll be able to go next. So I'm just going to get this one done and hope to remember to do comic book haul video every time I get some comics, because it's going to start being more like a month, maybe 2 months every time I go down there, so should have plenty of comics every time I go. But anyway, on with the comics. So first up we have Batgirl Birds of Prey number 9. This is the variant issue. I'm pretty sure they have been spying on me, because this is exactly the kind of cover that I would buy. Like, even if I had already bought the regular cover, I would have gone out of my way to pick this up. Because Black Canary is, yeah, she's definitely up there. Let's see, I'd probably go Batwoman, Huntress, Catwoman, Poison Ivy. Well, Batwoman, Huntress, Catwoman, Wonder Woman, Poison Ivy, and Black Canary. So she's just outside the top 5 for me. And yeah, all about those fishnets, man. Then we have Gotham Academy second semester, and it's kind of taken a crazy turn. And I kind of like it, actually. I have no idea where it's going to go from where it ends in this issue, so that's always a good thing. When you don't just automatically, you don't have the game plan already figured out in your head, and you just kind of say, yep, I kind of figured it would go there. Which the more media I consume, the more often that happens to me. So every time I watch a movie now or a TV series, I'm like, okay, this character is going to die at this point, and these two characters will hook up and then break up, and that kind of thing. And I'm getting close to like an 80% success rate on guessing that kind of stuff, which is kind of crazy, but not with Gotham Academy at the moment, anyway. Mother Panic 6. I'm still really enjoying this series. I love the art style. It definitely fits Gotham really well. It's just so raw and like gritty, I guess. I don't know. I don't want to say grim because Batman has the market cornered on grim. But yeah, just a good series. Not necessarily reliable hero, and I even paused to use the term hero, so a good character and a good series. We have Trinity number 8, pausing the storyline they started literally the issue before to tie in with some Superman Reborn event that I had no idea was even going on, because I don't care about Superman in the slightest, or the DC arc at large, the company-wide arc at large, with all the Dr. Manhattan and Ozymandias and all that stuff. Couldn't care less, honestly. So yeah, this was kind of weird, but it does have a really cool splash page of Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman being confronted by a whole bunch of different alternate universe versions of themselves. So that was kind of cool. We move on to Wonder Woman 20 and 21. At first I kind of liked the way, since it's a twice a month book, I kind of liked the way it was telling 2 stories concurrently, and they both kind of tied into each other. But now it's getting to the point where it kind of feels like it's like they're not both stories aren't meshing as well or something. It's kind of hard to describe, but and I hate Steve Trevor. I'm just gonna say it. I find his character infinitely boring, and I don't sympathize with him in the slightest. So anytime he shows up, it's kind of like, oh god, we gotta sit through another page of him. For me, anyway. I know some people enjoy him, so your mileage may vary, but still going good. I'm actually more interested in Cheetah's story arc through this. She's definitely got a tragic story going on. It'd be interesting to see where she and Etta Candy end up. If she gets reverted back to Minerva, anyway. Yep. Good series. Thankfully, it wasn't affected by the price hike across the company. For those that don't know, in DC, a month or two ago, they raised the price on all of their monthly books to $3.99 instead of $2.99. And I think that makes that also made the premium books like Bombshells. I think that went up $1 as well. So just be aware of that. And the bi-monthly books are still $2.99 a piece. So if you're looking to get in, I don't even know if I can recommend buying monthly anymore. It might be time to start going to trades, which I hate. It's just that's a whole nother video. But yeah, if there's one or two series you want to pick up from DC that are bi-monthly, Wonder Woman and Detective Comics should be those comics, in my opinion. And we're gonna move on. We got some sort of comic-related stuff, but also some not comic-related stuff. This is kind of like the channel, or like my life update in the middle of a comic book haul video. But at least these next two pictures are comic book related. My aunt for Christmas got me 2 Blu-rays that I already had, and in fact, one of them she had got me the previous year at Christmas, and so she felt really bad, so she's been getting me a lot of movies, and this was one of them. She got me Doctor Strange. She's on the Disney Movie Club, I think, so I haven't watched it. I've heard it's like the mind trippy kind of stuff is really good, but I don't really hear great things about any of the rest of it, so I'm kind of wary to watch it. I really liked the animated movie they put out, probably over a decade ago now. Yeah, but never really had much interest in Doctor Strange, period, like the character. I don't really know why. I guess it always felt like in the comic books when I was reading in the 90s, when I read Marvel between like 93 and 2002, I think. Whenever I was reading pretty constantly between those years, and then it kind of slowed down, and then I quit at House of M. So it's been a while. But yeah, during that time period where I was reading pretty consistently with Marvel, it felt like every time Doctor Strange showed up, it was convenience. Like this, it was almost like they were writing the story, and then they said, "Oh well, Doctor Strange would be good here," and not, starting from the beginning, knowing Doctor Strange would be coming to help at some point or whatever. It's almost, I would almost compare it to the way Dr. Midnight was treated in DC Comics between 95 and 2005. Like anytime they needed a doctor instead of a scientist, they would go to Dr. Midnight, and he would just show up for like a page, and then that's it. You'd never hear about him again. And so that was my experience with Doctor Strange growing up. So he always felt like a bit player. So I never really learned to care about him. And maybe this movie will change my mind. I'm not sure. I'm supposed to watch it and then let my uncle borrow it because he is a huge Benedict Cumberbatch fan. He loves Sherlock. So, yeah, we'll see. And then I also picked up Teen Titans, the Judas Contract, which is a decade late. This was, for those that don't know, the DC animated originals officially started with Batman, Superman Doomsday. And it was originally supposed to start with Teen Titans, the Judas Contract, and it was helmed by Bruce Timm. So it was fairly, it's easy to speculate that it was going to be almost or it could have very possibly been a continuation of the Teen Titans cartoon, but maybe a bit more serious and the art less toonish, if you will, for the lack of a better term. But yeah, just at the time, Warner Brothers wasn't really sold on this new animated lineup of films coming out, and especially when it was Teen Titans, and especially when when it had to do with lesser-known Titans like Jericho and Terra and that kind of thing. So it got shelved, and well, it got canceled, frankly, and so we ended up getting Justice League New Frontier, I believe, was the one that replaced Judas Contract, and it came out pretty quick. And then, of course, Batman, Gotham Knight, and Wonder Woman, and so on and so forth. And then finally, I guess, once I think the success of Young Justice really helped out a lot, getting this film made. Especially the fan fervor getting it back for season 3, and so that's what we have to thank for this. I haven't watched this yet either, and because the reason is it's directed by the same guy that's done every single one of the animated originals that suck ass, Jay Oliva, and when I say they suck, I'm talking like they make me angry when I watch them, because it's like he's so focused on everything but the characters and the story. Like the movements of the characters is phenomenal, and the action is so, like, I hate to be a weeb, but it's very, I would say, on par with a lot of anime right now. In some cases, not all cases, but it's definitely up there, and you can tell they've done a lot of research into fight choreography and that kind of thing. But I don't give a shit. It's Teen Titans. They have powers. They don't need to do CQC and stuff like that. It's like Starfire can shoot fireballs from her hands. Why does she need to be throwing punches? So, yeah, so it's just really annoying. It kind of worked in Batman Bad Blood because everybody was a hand-to-hand, like nobody had superpowers, so that made sense, but they over-relied on it, and it was like half the movie was fighting scenes. And yeah, so, which made the story like fly by so fast, and you had no idea what was taking place when and why. Like, they fight a bunch of nuns at a church, just out of the blue, that kind of thing. So, plus I really hate the casting direction they went with Damien. He sounds like an 8-year-old child. And I know in the comics he's like 11, but he's supposed to be this, like, even darker, grimmer version of Batman, but in a tiny boy's body. So he just sounds too perky. I guess is what I'm trying to get across. He sounds too innocent. As someone who went through really hardcore depression and grief when I was 10, 11, and so on, it's hard to imagine someone who went through what Damien did being even remotely that perky. So I don't know. Plus the voice just grates on me, and so anytime Damien is in a movie now, I just kind of block it out as best I can. But yeah, I'm pretty committed to getting every single movie. I have every single animated original movie now. Some of the ones that they re-released on Blu-ray, I don't have the Blu-rays, but I'm thinking about picking them up, especially Under the Red Hood and Wonder Woman. But we'll see what happens. And then as part of the movies that I talked about earlier that my aunt picked up for me, she asked me what my favorite Disney animated stuff was, and I said, well, I already have Beauty and the Beast. And she said, well, what else do you like? And I said, well, I like Mulan, and I like Pocahontas. And apparently these, I don't know if this is a set or what, because they have matching covers, and they have the same feature as the first movie and then the home release sequel for both of them. So it would be interesting to see if they had a Beauty and the Beast one where it was Beauty and the Beast and then Beauty and the Beast Belle's Christmas, I think it's called. And then Little Mermaid and Little Mermaid 2 would be kind of cool to have those four together. But also, if I just have these two, if this is just like a coincidence that they both came out and had almost the same cover style and everything, then that's fine too, because I really like both these movies. And just a little bit of video game stuff here. I went to GameStop looking for, believe it or not, a Funko Pop. As much as I've railed on them in the past, there are some that I actually want now, but they didn't have them. And I just happened to see out of the corner of my eye a big display of Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival, which is the worst received Animal Crossing game in the franchise's history, because it's basically Mario Party with no mini games, which I know sounds beyond bizarre, but it's the kind of thing where, like, if you have a chill party where it's just you and 3 other friends, and you would just be watching like infomercials all day and vegging. This would be the kind of game that I would want to play in that situation, because it's just so calm and the characters are cute and the music is phenomenal. Animal Crossing music is always some of the best video game music that comes out whenever the game in the year that an Animal Crossing game comes out. 9 times out of 10, the soundtrack is going to be in the top 5 soundtracks of the year. In my opinion, it's that good. So, also you get the Digby amiibo, which it was exclusive to this package for a while, and then they eventually released a 2-pack of just the amiibos. As you can see, I picked it up for $10, and I kind of felt bad because I really love the series and I want to support it, but I don't have a Wii U to play it on. But I'm trying to fix that because I also have Mass Effect 3 for Wii U, and I've always wanted to play that, and Bayonetta 2. And this is the kind of game that I can play with my little cousins when they come over, and so I just had to pick it up. It's clear that by how many there were at my quote-unquote local store, that this game did not do well at all, and GameStop is just trying to get rid of these quickly because they probably have hundreds thousands of extra copies just laying around. Yeah, it's a shame, but at the same time, I completely understand why people don't like this game. But yeah, I have all the rest of the games, literally every game in the series, so I had to pick this one up. And the only, it's kind of, I don't know if it's ironic, but it's funny. The only game I didn't buy new, like, I bought one used, and it was Animal Crossing Wild World for the DS, and it's my least favorite. I don't know if that has anything to do with the fact that it's used or not, but I just always found that interesting that for some reason that one just didn't connect with me a lot. Like, it felt really stripped down from the GameCube version, and the DS was supposed to be basically almost a GameCube, and the things that were taken out felt like things that wouldn't have taken up that much space. So, yeah, I could go on about that game for another 20 minutes, and this video is already getting way longer than I wanted it to, as usual. So, finally, we have Stardew Valley Collector's Edition for Xbox One. I picked it up on that same GameStop trip, and I decided to set it up with my Steam window there, so you can see I've put in over 100 hours on PC already, or Mac, if you want to split hairs, but as of today, I've put in 70 hours on Stardew Valley Collector's Edition on Xbox One, so you could say I'm a little addicted. I say a little because, as you can see there, the 5 friends who play Stardew Valley, the second one there that's got an avatar of Miku, she has put in 2,000 hours, and boy, I don't know. She only has 6 more achievements than I do in the game, so I don't know. It might just be a case of she pauses it and leaves her computer on overnight or something. I don't know, but yeah, I know there's a lot of people who kind of went Avatar with this game, and it basically took over their life, and it's literally all they do now. Kind of like WoW and Skyrim had the same effect on a lot of people. So I'm not that hardcore, but I really, really love the game. I actually, in the interest of honesty, or transparency, as the saying is supposed to go, I picked up the Xbox One version because it has a physical copy of the soundtrack. And I had already bought the soundtrack on Steam, so I have 2 copies of the soundtrack and 2 copies of the game. But the town map is really nice to have, and the guidebook is about the most adorable manual I've ever seen. Maybe Kirby's Epic Yarn is up there, and Boy in a Blob from the Wii. But yeah, it's a lovely game. I would almost call it a perfect game, but it does have a few issues here and there. Console, the controls take a while to get used to. When you can click, since it's basically a point and click action game a little bit, because you can point where you're going to plant stuff and which angle to attack from when you're fighting stuff in the mines. The mouse, once you get used to the mouse, it's really hard to get used to the controller. And because on a controller, you can only attack north, south, east, west. But on the mouse, you have 8 directions you can attack. So it was rough, but it was totally worth $30 again. So if you haven't played it, I highly recommend it. There's pretty much no reason to not play it now. especially since it's coming out on Nintendo Switch. So if you have a Switch, definitely pick it up on there. Uh, Multiplayer is coming this year. I think it's going to have a staggered release: PC, then Xbox One, PS4, and then Switch. So just watch out for that. It should be a lot of fun. From the kind of snippets I've read online about what they want to do, at least, it's going to be a blast. So I'm really looking forward to it. And then we'll move on to, of course, Batwoman stuff. Always got to end the comic book call with the Bay at save the best for last position. So we have Bombshells 25. As you can see, it's up to $4.99 a month now, which is getting steep. But this group here is the Suicide Squad of the Bombshells continuity. We have Batgirl, who is a vampire. Killer Croc. I think that's supposed to be Julia Pennyworth in the military uniform, but I'm not sure. Ravager, obviously. And then, I forget her name. But yeah, it's a pretty cool take on the Suicide Squad mythos, and it's turned out to be a pretty good issue. Of course, Batwoman is in the series, but since she wasn't on the cover, I decided to take a picture of her in the book since she appeared. And then we have Bombshells 26 with Supergirl on the cover. And once again, had to take another picture. And this is like right before something really horrible is implied to happen. So I'm kind of on the edge of my seat for the next issue, but Bombshells is absolutely I'm trying to choose my words carefully here. It's the best Elseworlds ongoing series they've ever done, in my opinion. The writing, for what it's meant to be. Okay, let's start over. From how the series was inspired, from a series of pinup drawings, it is 10,000 times better than anybody could have ever hoped, in my opinion. Obviously, a lot of people assume pinup art is just about male gaze and all that kind of stuff. So when you think of comic books doing it, it's kind of like, oh geez, how every single panel is just going to be pinup. But it's not. And it's written by Marguerite Bennett, who is queer, and she puts a lot of that into the story, of course, and it's just for a lot of my friends that are gay, and it's just to see their reaction every month when it comes out. It's really awesome to see them get so hype about a comic book series, because before it was like, oh, North Star is gay and he's getting married, and then no hype after that, because it's like they did it just for that arc, and then who cares about North Star now? And then, oh, Iceman is bi. Oh my god, that's huge. Completely dropped, pretty much. So it's to have a comic that not only has Batwoman as the star, co-star of, well, probably I would argue Wonder Woman is the star, obviously, and then I would actually put Batwoman at number 2, and that's completely unbiased. As looking at the series objectively, Batwoman at 2, and so to have a confirmed lesbian as a co-star, as well as, I guess Wonder Woman could be argued to be pan. I guess, I don't know. I get kind of confused on some of that stuff, but I'm learning still every day. And then you have Harley and Ivy, who are a confirmed couple. Catwoman, of course, is bisexual, even in canon, mainline canon. And then you have Big Barda and Dr. Light are a couple in this series. It's just the representation, mostly for lesbians, obviously, but I believe there is one gay male character. I don't want to say that for sure, but it's definitely it's definitely a niche audience kind of thing. And if you don't like homosexuality, if you're against that, then you're gonna hate this. But I think the writing, while it caters to that, it caters and represents the LGBT community. The writing is so good and funny and charming that I think it could even convince some homophobes to actually read this book. Especially if you're a fan of like 1940s movies. It really reminds me of World War II. World War II era films. So if you're into that kind of stuff, I'm probably downselling this book really bad, but it's the kind of thing where if you read one issue and you're not sold, just don't even bother reading anymore, honestly. But if you even like one thing about that one issue, read everything. It's that kind of book. So, spent way too long on this, but we have Detcom, Detective Comics 954. The first issue since Rebirth started without a single panel of Batwoman. Literally every other character in the series up to this point shows up. There's Alpha Prime, or whatever he's called. There's Kate's dad. Of course, Orphan, Shiva, Raish, Batman. I guess Red Robin doesn't show up, but that's kind of common now at this point, due to the larger events of the DC universe going on right now. But that's why I don't have a picture of her inside. Since she's the co-lead on this book, I put it in the Batwoman section. So, and then we have I almost said Batwoman 955. Oh, could you imagine? Detcom 955, and for those that don't know, Batwing and Azrael have replaced Red Robin and Spoiler in the team, basically. Did I say that right? Sorry about that. I'll try to mute that if I remember. But yeah, I think Azrael is a great addition. I think it was 950, where Azrael and Batwing have a really cool, like, back and forth for a couple pages between science and religion kind of thing. And it wasn't, I don't even know what the term would be, but it felt like both sides were represented fairly well. So I think that made it that much more memorable. I look forward to seeing how the next issue starts, because the way this issue ends kind of felt almost like a Super Friends cliffhanger in a way. Basically, here's spoilers in case you haven't read it, but surely most people have. Most of them are all tied up. Shiva is about to nuke Gotham, and Orphan, aka Cassandra Cain, shows up to fight her mother for respect and all that. And, sorry, I'm going to take a drink. So she shows up just in the nick of time, and it's like the very next panel, or like you turn the page and it's a full page shot of all the rest of the team not only were they tied up, they were naked. And then this new page, they're out of their bonds, and they're all dressed up again in the span of like what would be 2 minutes probably in universe, or maybe even less than that. But it's very strange. But yeah, I'm always for more Lady Shiva. I feel like she's very underused. I liked her in the cartoon back in the day, and I feel like she had a pretty prominent storyline in the '90s, late '90s. Because otherwise, I don't know when I would have ever read about her. But I knew back then that I thought she was like in my small brain back then. I was thinking, why don't they do more with her? She's really cool. She's like Catwoman, but she wants to fight in a kind of way. So, yeah, pretty excited to see her back. I trust James Tynion the Fourth completely with this series, and I look forward to seeing where he goes with it in the future. And of course, the mainline series, Batwoman #2. Here she is, looming over a knife. Former, I don't want to say friend, but acquaintance. I bought the variant cover, but I just forgot to take a picture, and I'm too lazy to dig it out and take a picture of it. So I have both of those. I'm probably going to end up getting every variant for this series, because who knows how long it'll last. And it's a lot easier to get variant covers now. So, feels like with Rebirth, variant covers from DC started getting really easy to pick up. So, that's why. Yeah, just Marguerite Bennett is also writing this book along with James Tynion, and it's almost like J.H. Williams III and Hayden Blackman never left, but at the same time, you can definitely tell when it's Marguerite writing. Especially, it mostly comes out when it's Kate and not Batwoman speaking, if that makes any sense. So, of course, from a completely biased standpoint, I highly recommend you buy this. Definitely pick up the trade, or I guess even digitally buy it. I don't know much about the digital marketplace. It feels wrong reading comics online. Like, I was trying to catch up with Injustice, the Injustice comics, excuse me, and trying to figure out where Batwoman appeared in each issue from year 4 and year 5. And so to do that, I went on to a site that illegally posts comic books, and I looked through. As I got through like the 4th issue, I started feeling like, man, I can't imagine reading this just to read it, like to enjoy it, because it felt like there was no joy in it whatsoever. Just I guess because, like, the way the human brain works, when I'm looking at a computer screen and hitting next page, it feels like I'm just looking at the same thing in a way. But when I'm flipping the page in a comic, it's like, oh, I'm turning to a new thing to look at. So I think that's, in a very stupid, psychological, like Neanderthal kind of level way, that's my explanation for buying monthlies still. And, you know, the tactile sensation of holding a book and all that. But, yeah, I just want more people to read Batwoman. Damn it. That's so good, and she's such a great character, and I really hope she eventually gets her own animated film. I think that would really do a lot for her stake in the company, or position in the company. Because for a while, I actually read I can't remember if it was on Bleeding Cool or Comic Book Resource or something like that, where they argued that Batwoman was the new number 2, or the new number 1 as far as female heroes go. Like, she even overtook Wonder Woman as far as effectiveness and interest and that kind of thing. And I may have been biased, obviously, but it made a lot of sense to me what they were saying at the time, and of course it kind of fell off once J.H. Williams and Hayden Blackman left. But yeah, it was just she's just so good, and God, I could go on forever, and I've already been going on forever. So with that said, I'm still going to be streaming on Beam now, beam.pro/POD7. I picked up 3 games yesterday, and 2 of them were free, and the other one was $2.50. And I'm thinking about streaming them all in the next couple weeks. So if you have time, follow my Twitter at twitter.com/POD7. P_O_D7. Sorry. And I'm definitely going to post on there when I start streaming every time. So go ahead and follow me on there. I don't know how Beam's following system works, so I can't really recommend it yet. I wish I had a way of streaming Beam to Twitch, because that would be far more preferable, but I'm trying to give it a fair shot now. I watched some Beam streams the other day of Overwatch, and it was pretty fun. So I don't know. We'll see what happens, but Mass Effect is pretty much delayed again for a while because the VODs, video on demand stuff, isn't very consistent. Like, so far it'll be I'll stream once and it won't show up, and then I'll stream again, and then that one will show up, and then I'll go, oh, I guess it's working now, and I'll go stream, and then that one doesn't show up. So I don't know what's going on, but anyway, this video has gone on for far too long. Follow me on Twitter, comment any questions at all about comic books on this video, or about the video games or movies that I mentioned. Basically, any comic book questions at all are fine, even Marvel. I'm not going to know much about it, but if you want an opinion, like on Steve Rogers being a Hydra agent, or Gwenpool, or God, I don't even know, the new Iron Man who's actually a girl, that kind of stuff. I like controversial topics like that. So I would love to ramble on even more about comics, as you can tell by this series, where the average runtime is like an hour. So, yeah, always willing to talk with anybody. Obviously, the more in-depth an answer needs to be for a question, the more likely it'll be in a video of some kind instead of a reply. So, yeah, if you just ask me if I like Gwenpool, yes or no, I'm going to just say no, for instance. But if you ask me what I think of Steve Rogers being a Hydra agent, that could take a while, obviously. So, yeah. Anyway, leave a comment, subscribe, you know the rule, or not the rules, but you know the whole fanfare at the end of every single YouTube video ever produced in the last 5 years. So, this has been POD7, and I'm signing out.